Let's talk pheromones. 14 hours before our departure for Los Angeles to celebrate my dad's 90th birthday, Spouse found a baby bird on the ground. No, 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 I said when he brought it to me, his eyes glowing with visions of a bird buddy sitting on his shoulder, cheeping into his ear. Probably only a week or two past hatching, the bird didn't have feathers yet, so much as feathers to be, still sheathed in keratin, poking through its skin like the spines of a hedgehog, and its eyes were still closed. Its beak, preposterously wide and yellow, begged the question of who was going to stuff food down that gullet once every 45 minutes if we were about to fly away for a week. Another argument against bringing it home. We have the two killerest cats, Ninja and Noodle, I have ever met who weren't panthers. Plus, our dog Rudolph, a Jack Russell Fox Terrier mix, is not above murdering young birds. As much as he would have liked to surrender to the miracle of a stray animal who saves you by coming to you for help in your hour of need, Spouse had to concede. It would be better to put the little bird back where it came from. We must have made quite a sight on the patio of that fancy restaurant as we flailed about, failing to find the nest. Me, as I tried not to pass out in the horrible heat and humidity and the 50s style dress that was crushing me like I was a pig and it was a python. And Spouse, as he tried to stay clean, all spiffed up as he was, in his brand new shirt and suit and shiny shoes that he only wears a couple times a year. There are eaves way up there, I noted, with dismay, at the only plausible spot for a nest. Without a ladder, we did not stand a chance. It fell to me to hold the baby bird in my hands as we drove home, hoping to foist it off on our neighbor at 10 p.m., a bit after she would normally be asleep. This was the woman who was also going to spend the next week looking after our dog, two killer cats, three chickens, and garden full of tomatoes, potatoes, zucchinis, cucumbers, and flowers that need watering once or twice a day, especially in that heat wave. All while looking after her own garden, poodle, 3 ducks, and 30 alpacas. We're going to push her too far, I warned Spouse, and then, without an everything sitter, how will we ever go on vacation again? When our neighbor met us at her front door, she freaked out. This baby bird was beyond her expertise. But then she calmed down and promised that if it survived the night, she'd drive it to the local wild animal rescue first thing in the morning. We politely refrained from pointing out that such professionals weren't going to waste time on a sparrow. But they did turn out to be kind enough to arm our neighbor with instructions and advice. That turned out to be all she needed to go all in. She acquired a huge cage via the free online classified, she stocked up on an array of suitable birdseed mixes, and she filled her freezer with the fresh larvae of bees, hornets, and grasshoppers. I mean, honestly, it is a shopper's paradise out there. As for Spouse and myself, our trip to Los Angeles went well, even if it was exhaustingly brief. 7 days is just enough time to get over jet lag enough to guarantee yourself another week of it when you get home. But my dad enjoyed the birthday party I threw him, and it was good for him to be lavished with all that attention. It was, in his words, the best birthday he could remember. And, unlike his younger sister, his memory is still fine. If you asked me, the odds of us being able to celebrate his 95th birthday are, maybe 10%. No one in his family has ever made it past 94. And of being able to celebrate his 100th, 0. All told, the extravagance of such a short trip was worth it. I'm glad I went. But what goes around comes around. About 10 days after we got back from Los Angeles, my everything sitter neighbors decided they wanted to drive up to Denmark for the day. It's the sort of thing you can do from here. So it was my turn to be the everything sitter, in this case to their 1 dog, 3 ducks, 30 alpacas, and now also little Cheeps, who'd finally flown the coop for the garden, but still needed feeding at regular intervals. Among other things, that meant defrosting, then mushing the bloated, cream-colored hornet larvae that sheep so loved but couldn't quite get down the hatch. I, I don't know if I touched my face after mashing the larvae for cheeps, and the craziness that was trying to feed a shrieking sparrow fledgling while simultaneously fending off an angry duck drake who weighs a freakish 20 pounds, and trying not to let Killer Noodle, who had just wandered into the picture, notice the naive baby bird. I mean, I was like the total animal magnet at this point in time. Or maybe the smell of smooshed baby hornets doesn't readily wash off the hands. Or maybe what happened to me a couple of hours later had nothing to do with bludgeoned hornet larvae having the last laugh. After I'd mucked out the alpaca stalls and given the alpacas their feed, and after I fed sheeps those mashed larvae, I brought the neighbor's teddy bear poodle back with me over to our house. Now, I like this dog, and it did have to be done, but this was really bad for our cats. The poodle goes after them, barking madly, causing them great distress. With Ninja, the one who was born upstairs, so in this room here, this isn't a problem. She's deeply rooted to the house, and she'll always come back when the coast is clear, having spent the day sleeping in a shed, on the lawnmower, or whatever for a few hours. But it's a different story with Mama Noodle. We rescued Noodle, heavily pregnant, from the street in front of the florist shop in the village Spouse grew up in, about a 5-hour drive from here. Take her, she's yours, they said. You know, if you live in a village in Europe, you know what it's like. When people don't want or can't take care of their cat anymore, they drive it out to some village, stop the car, toss it out, and then drive off. Because everyone thinks cats can fend for themselves. And it isn't really true. I've lived in a lot of villages here, and I've been adopted by so many abandoned cats down through the years who failed at life on the streets. These cats don't just need food and shelter either. They all desperately want love. Noodle, however, can afford to be picky. She can kill anything and eat it if she wants to. I've seen her leap up off the ground, all 4 feet simultaneously, to take out a dragonfly that was cruising 7 feet over her head. Now, Noodle was perfectly happy with us until we had her and her daughter Ninja fixed, and this beloved kitten of hers became a stranger to her. She went from cuddling with Ninja all the time to just hissing at her. And it didn't help that Ninja's favorite pastime, other than killing things, is ambushing everyone from behind whatever she's hiding behind. And that annoys Noodle. At the same time, Noodle was becoming increasingly prickly about Rudolph the dog, who accepts her as part of the pack but wants to play all the time. That also drives Noodle crazy. Then I left for 2 weeks to deal with elder care in Los Angeles, and Spouse, running his own company, didn't have any time or attention to lavish on Noodle. By the time I got home, she had left us. And we didn't know where she was. We asked around. Eventually, we discovered she'd been taken in by neighbors and, in our little mini village of 15 houses here, who hadn't bothered to ask around if anyone was missing their cat. Oh, there was drama when we showed up with a cat carrier to take her back. When we got Noodle back inside our house, there was drama there too. Oh, she was not a happy camper. Stuck inside, she was hissing at everyone and everything. She hated her daughter, she hated the dog, she hated us. It was really stressful for everybody, and I had no idea what to do. But then I remembered about pheromones. Even if I hadn't previously actually had luck with cat pheromone spray. Oh no, our everything sitter neighbor told me. You have to use the diffuser, the thing you plug into the wall and then it gives off the smells, even if in this case you can't smell them. Then she gave me her battered old ones, left over from the days when she had a mother cat who no longer liked her daughter, because apparently this is a thing. And the pheromones were amazing. Diffusing through the air, they worked within minutes and got ever better over the course of the week. I mean, Noodle is now totally blissed out. She snuggles with Ninja again. She sniffs noses with the dog. Pheromones are clearly powerful stuff. We can even let Noodle back outside now and she doesn't run away. But I didn't want a poodle who barks at and chases cats to upend that. So I thought, why not kill 2 birds with 1 stone and take the dogs for a long walk? What dog, who isn't a pug, doesn't like a long walk? And what cat doesn't mind a dog's not being there? Although it was a hot day, when we reached what is our normal turnaround point, half an hour from home, I pressed on. The cats deserved the dogs having a longer walk, and the dogs didn't seem to be minding. A few minutes later, I was walking on a path between fields. This path is made up of two long strips of concrete running in parallel, basically one for each set of tractor tires, the left side and the right side, because we have a lot of tractors here. I happened to be walking along this side next to the grassy field. The other side ran next to what the locals call a knick, made up of oak trees, ash trees, other trees, miscellaneous bushes, and lots of brambles. It's not as dense as a hedgerow, but it serves as habitat space for hares, foxes, badgers, lots of plants, and, as I was about to find out, tons of insects. It was like a crime scene reenactment. I was quietly minding my own business, walking the dogs, enjoying the sunshine, when a righteous ball of buzzing insects shot out of the knick straight at me, bashed into me, stung me on the tender flesh of my upper eyelid, and zipped back into the shadows before I so much as had a chance to flinch. I was on the ground. Well, okay, not quite, but fuck, that hurt. Random fact from the internet. European hornet stings only clock in as a 2 on a pain scale running from 0 to 4. To which I say, is 4 disembowelment or slowly burning to death? Grumpy and cursing, I held my hand over my smarting eye the entire way home. When I woke up the next morning, my whole left eye was swollen and red. My vision was blurry, and the point where I was stung was starting to itch. And the situation appears to intend to stick with me for at least the next couple of days, as you can maybe see. Meanwhile, life goes on. There are errands to run, groceries to be bought, people to meet on the paths between fields, because no matter what, you have to keep walking your dog. Here's another fun fact. When you're a woman in public with a red, angry, swollen eye socket, no one believes you when you say it was a hornet, not your husband. But they're so docile, is exactly how everyone has expressed their disbelief. And it is true. European hornets are huge, and they look murderous, but they're docile. We have them in our garden all the time, and they just cruise around doing their own thing without any regard to us. Wasps are much peskier and temperamental, and so easily provoked into stinging you. I'll take hornets over wasps any day. Hornets are only known to be aggressive when they're defending their nest. So, a possible explanation? But when I was out with the dogs on my walk, I was on the grassy side of the path, at least 8 feet away from any possible hornet's nest. All I can figure is pheromones. I was reading that when a hornet stings you, it deposits pheromones that mark you as a deadly enemy. Any hornet that encounters you within the next couple of hours gets the message, attack. But before I was stung, I hadn't been stung. But you know what? I probably had the pheromones of smushed hornet larvae all over my hands, maybe my face. I had been feeding cheeps only about an hour earlier. How dare me for striding through the countryside with ode to hornet baby killer smeared all over me like a boast. In the hornet's position, I would have stung me on the eyelid too, and not just once. In all things considered, the hornet was merciful to me. And that's all I have to say right now about pheromones. Now here I go, touching my face again. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening.